Hey, this is the beginning of part 5, the final part of my answer to Pat Condell. Again, my name is Jeff Thomas, and I stand by this message. As if all this bootlicking was not enough to get you to clean your rifle, suspicion is also drawn to the name of the building, Cordoba House. I always thought the name was never pronounced better than when Ricardo Montalban said it, but that's an old Chrysler reference and perhaps better left asleep, I guess. When the Moors conquered most of the Iberian Peninsula from the Visigoths, who took it from the Romans, who themselves conquered it half a millennium earlier, I guess, they established Cordoba as the provincial capital. That was in 711 AD. Like the Romans and the Visigoths before them, they built many buildings, among them the world's largest library, and a mosque begun 73 years later on an abandoned construction site where the prior Visigothic church of St. Vincent was left abandoned. The erection of temples was nothing new, and as apparently the conquering of the territory was nothing new. Cordoba during this time was a sophisticated city of 500,000 citizens who represented the vanguard of Christian, Jewish, and Islamic culture. On June 29th, 1236, it was again captured, this time by King Ferdinand III of Castile during the Spanish Reconquista. The suggestion by Mr. Condell that the Muslims have captured Manhattan and plan to build their mosque headquarters on top of an old coat factory in accordance to their standard 1,000-year-old exemplar MO, in light of the numerous points of clarification presented thus far, reminds one that he is first and foremost a comedian. And just as an ironic side note, I have on many occasions had the pleasure to attend music shows at a nearby arena. I'm from Long Island, New York, which is in the metropolitan area, and I'm referring to the Nassau Coliseum, built in the 1970s by construction crews represented by a significant number of tool-belted Italians, former citizens or descendants of those same people responsible for the death of thousands of American GIs only 30 years earlier during the Second World War. They named this arena, and I quote, the Nassau Coliseum, or Coliseum for short. Isn't this the same name as that immense round building in Rome where over 700,000 men, women, and children, Christians, Jews, and foreign prisoners, tigers, bears, dogs, and elephants, were slaughtered for the bloodthirst or entertainment of the citizens of that enigmatic city so many years ago? Was it simply enough for my community to recognize the Italian dimension for its shocking inclusion of a brief period where unspeakable trespasses came to be and were subsequently forgiven? Or are we just replaying the ancient tapes, the unreconciled feud between brown skin and white, Muslim and Christian, Muslim and Jew, Western sensibilities, and the rest of the world? No, my friends, we need this cultural center in Mosque, right where it is, just so people don't have to come crawling back to Joe McCarthy, George Wallace, John Birch, Pat Roberts, Newt Gingrich, Rush Limbaugh, Terry Jones, and a whole lot of them. Nothing would hurt Al-Qaeda more than proof in America's resolve to defend our tolerance. A shootout with Islam is not the solution, Mr. Condell. It may disgust you to stand in a supermarket line with neighbors who place a greater significance in the life of Muhammad than that of Jesus, who spell God with an A, who sport large, black, untrimmed beards, who might even conform to a code of fashion you find peculiar. Don't sanitize your reality with propaganda bearing false witness against the juvenile goblins of your own bigoted social development. Islam was hurt deeply on September 11th, as with all of us. I was in New York City that day. The plane struck 600 feet above the sidewalk, outside the Merrill Lynch building on 47th Street between Park and Lexington. Hanging off a hot hoist scaffold in a jump harness and a hard hat. I spent the next few days down at Ground Zero trying to help. A few close friends of mine are permanently disabled from helping make something out of that cursed crater. We're not only Americans, Pat, but more to the point, we're New Yorkers who work, shop, and mess around with the same Muslims you so vehemently hate. My recommendation is that you don't drive an unreliable car through the Arizona desert or Death Valley. The car that blows past you in the intolerable heat just might be me, saving my gas and passenger seat for the first sane hitchhiker I find, Muslim or not. As Bob Dylan said, sometimes the devil comes as a man of peace. Peace to you, Pat.